Good morning, children. Welcome to session 2, Story of Microorganisms, part 2. So, already in the previous session, we learned about these microorganisms and how microorganisms are useful in our daily life, especially in preparing the food items like idli, dosa, and the next we also learned about the process of fermentation, and with the help of that, by using yeast, we can prepare alcohol and alcoholic beverages like this. Okay. Now, let's come to today's topic, that is medicinal use of microorganisms. Whenever we get ill or when we are injured and when we are going to undergo any operation, then the doctors will prescribe some special medicines for us, and these medicines are said to be antibiotics. No, antibiotics, and these antibiotics, how we can prepare them means they are prepared from some special microorganisms, especially which microorganisms means that's a fungi, right? So from fungi we can prepare these antibiotics, and nowadays we are using different types of antibiotics. When say for example, if we get any fever, then what we do, we take the tablets like say this paracetamol. But not only this paracetamol, but along with the paracetamol, we take azithromycin, then amoxicillin. Now, what are all these things means? These are all said to be antibiotics, and today we are using different types of antibiotics, like say this penicillin, then tetracycline, which can be otherwise called as aureomycin, streptomycin, erythromycin, chloromycin, like this, and these are especially useful to control different types of bacterial disease. Like say this typhoid, gonorrhea. It's a kind of sexually transmitted disease, and even septicemia. Septicemia means the infection in the blood can be called as a septicemia, right? So in this way, there's antibiotics that are mainly useful for controlling different types of bacterial infections. Okay, and these antibiotics can be used not only in human beings but also in both the plants and animals. Plants and animals also get different types of disease, and to control this bacterial disease in the plants and the animals, we use the antibiotics in the different types of living organisms also, right? But here the antibiotics should be used only by the prescription of a doctor. Okay, when the doctors say you have to use antibiotics, then only we have to use the antibiotics. Nowadays, see the people without consulting the doctor for different types of health issues like a cold, cough, like this, even for the simple infections, they go to medical shop and they take the medicine and also antibiotics. So whenever we are using antibiotics unnecessarily without the prescription of a doctor, then they affect especially WBC in our body. WBC, white blood corpuscles, and which are responsible to fight against disease. So this WBC will be destroyed, and even they also kill the usual bacteria present in our intestine. In our intestine, we can find many bacteria, and these bacteria provide different types of vitamins to our body, and also they help in the digestion process, all these things, right? But all this useful bacteria will be destroyed by this excessive and unnecessary use of antibiotics, and even so they also weakens the body, right? Okay, that's why so we should not take these antibiotics unnecessarily and excessively. Got it, children? Right. Okay, and so these are the different types of antibiotics: penicillin, tetracycline, the next streptomycin, erythromycin, chloromycin, and of course we are using nowadays we are using azithromycin, then amoxicillin, all these things, right? So these are all said to be this antibiotics which are prepared from a special kind of microorganisms called fungi, right? Now let's come to the next topic here. So what are these? observe this picture very carefully, and here we can find different types of antibiotics which are available as capsules. So here we can find capsules, and these are tablets like this. Okay, and some are available as emulsions also, like like a liquid. Okay, so this is streptomycin, and these are amoxicillin capsules, and these are also amoxicillin, and azithromycin is a very common, and penicillin, right? So these are the different types of antibiotics, and we should be used very, very carefully only by the prescription of a doctor, right? Now, story of a discovery of an antibiotic, that is a penicillin. And actually, this antibiotic penicillin was firstly discovered by a famous doctor, that is, who is this? Alexander Fleming. Alexander Fleming, and he was working as a doctor in the times of First World War. In the times of First World War, and whenever he was, at the time, he observed that many soldiers were died because of infection of the wounds. So he found how to control these infections. So at the time he was doing some experiment. So this is a petri dish. This is petri dish. That means a small saucer-like structure, and in that he was growing this bacteria. This is a bacteria, that is a staphylococcus. He was growing a bacteria by name of staphylococcus, and after a few days he found a special substance. Here, can you find this? A white colored substance. He found that this white colored substance was killing this bacteria. And he got surprised, and he tried to find out what is that substance. Okay, and later he found that that substance is named as a fungus, that is a Penicillium notatum. That is a Penicillium notatum. So here. So what is that fungus? Means Penicillium notatum, and from that fungus he extracted a substance, and he called that as a penicillin. So in this way, so very in an interesting manner, this Alexander Fleming invented this penicillin, right? And for this great work, this Alexander Fleming in 1945, he was awarded Nobel Prize along with the two other scientists, that is Dr. Howard Florey and Dr. Ernst B. Chain, right? So for this great discovery, along with this Alexander Fleming, Howard Florey and Ernst Chain got a Nobel Prize. And today we are using different types of antibiotics. Already we discussed, like streptomycin, erythromycin, chloromycin, penicillin, and the next say this azithromycin, like this, right? So in this way, in a very interesting manner, this Alexander Fleming discovered this a special kind of antibiotic called penicillin for the first time. Clear, children? Right. Okay. Now, so who is this scientist? He is a famous Telugu scientist. Okay, and his name is Dr. Y. Subbarao. Dr. Y. Subbarao, which means Ella Pragada Subbarao. And he belongs to AP, and he born in West Godavari district. And why we are talking about this scientist means, this scientist, he prepared a special antibiotic that is called aureomycin, which can be otherwise called as a tetracycline, aureomycin, or a here you can find that. Okay, so in the form of capsules, right? So aureomycin or a tetracycline, and especially these medicine can be used to control different types of bacterial infections, especially there's a typhoid, then a plague, and even a TB, that means a tuberculosis, and also several bacterial infections, right? So Dr. Y. Subbarao, and why he became famous means by the discovery of aureomycin or the tetracycline, and it is used to control bacterial infections like a typhoid, plague, and tuberculosis. Clear? Right. Okay. Now let's come to the another topic, that is vaccines. Now actually, to control different types of disease, doctors refer us to use tablets, then syrups, and even injections like this. So what is the use of all these things means? With the help of them, we can control the disease. Okay, but in order to prevent disease, that means not to get the disease in the future, we use some special medicines, and these medicines can be called as a vaccine, right? So what is the main purpose of this vaccine means? To prevent. Nowadays, that means whole world is working on preparing the vaccine against this coronavirus. No, today the whole world is shivering just because of this virus, that is corona or COVID-19, and the entire world is trying to prepare different types of vaccines, and even in our country, where the government is going to release this vaccine on August 15th. Got it? Okay. And here, actually, how these vaccines are produced means, when any disease causing microorganisms enter our body, then our body will produce some defenders. Defenders means, that means to protect our body against the microorganisms. They produce some special proteins, and these proteins can be called as antibodies. They are called antibodies. Actually, in the microorganisms, we can find protein bodies called antigens. They are called antigens, and against antigens, our body will produce antibodies. Right? So in this way, when we are giving the vaccine, so what is a vaccine means? Inside the vaccine, we introduce weak or dead microbes. Weak means they are present in inactive form, just like a dead, right? So actually, when they enter our body, they won't create any disease. But so what is the use of this? Means, when we introduce these microorganisms, dead or inactive microbes, into our body, then our body think that they are active and they are living, and so our body produces antibodies. Our body produces antibodies against them, right? So in a future, when the real microorganisms, the living microorganisms enter our body, then the antibodies which are already present in our body, they will fight and they will kill that microorganisms. Got it? So this is a way how these vaccines work, right? So through vaccine, what we are doing means, we are introducing microorganisms to our body to prepare antibodies against disease. So here you have to remember one thing. The antibodies which are produced against one disease, they can kill only those particular microbes. Got it? So for example, take this tuberculosis. So when we prepare this tuberculosis vaccine, the antibodies which are produced against tuberculosis, they can control only tuberculosis bacteria, but they cannot control this hepatitis or chicken pox like this. Alright? So this is very, very important. The antibodies which are produced against one disease can kill and control only that particular microorganism, but not any other one. Got it, children? Okay. And nowadays, these vaccines are available for almost all the diseases like polio disease, smallpox, chickenpox, hepatitis. Hepatitis means like a jaundice and a tuberculosis and many more, right? And now and then you may observe this polio or pulse polio program, right? So in this pulse polio program, we can find this medical department people. That means they are giving this vaccine. That means to the children who are below 5 years. Have you seen? So what is the use of that? Means to control this polio completely in our country. Good. Okay. Now here, who prepared the vaccine for the first time? Means there's Edward Jenner. Edward Jenner. This scientist prepared a vaccine against a disease that is called smallpox. So this is the first vaccine prepared by a famous scientist, that is Dr. Edward Jenner. And later, see this Jonas Salk. He invented a polio vaccine. Polio vaccine, that means in the form of a injection. And later, this Albert Sabin, he prepared a oral polio vaccine. Have you seen this? This medical department people giving this vaccine. They're dropping some fluid into the mouth of children. Have you seen that? What do you call that vaccine? Means that is called oral. That is called oral polio vaccine, right? So this oral polio vaccine. Oral means what? Through mouth. Okay, as it is given through mouth, we call that as the oral polio vaccine. So oral polio vaccine is prepared by this Albert Sabin, while at Jonas Salk there's a normal polio vaccine. Got it? Okay. Now here you can find this first one. That is, this is a polio vaccine. This polio vaccine was given by this Jonas Salk. He is a Jonas Salk, and this is Albert Sabin. Here in this picture you can observe that he is giving the vaccine into the mouth of a baby, right? So this is oral polio vaccine, and this is it is given in the form of injection. Okay, and who is this? This is Edward Jenner, and who is giving this vaccine to a child against smallpox, right? Okay. So that's all for today, and have a good day. Thank you.